Good evening. Welcome to For Fantasy's Sake, the Quad City's first and only fantasy football show. I am your host, Doug. You are here on our Wednesday night short yardage show. I am joined by one, Mr. Andrew McKay, one, Mr. Michael Sicoli, and the guy you cannot see is our new friend, Matt. Matt, what is your last name really Frost?
That is not my last name, unfortunately.
Okay.
Oh,
I wish it was.
that would have been pretty cool.
Then we
Then
have
you
to
really
have
look at
Scott
Matty Ice.
Frost. You want that on your side.
I couldn't take Matty Ice, so I had to come up with my own.
I like it, though.
Wow, that's not this
Good.
Wow. Trying to show off Big Ben in the background, but
Yeah, Big Ben has a big glare on him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's very glary.
I should have set this up pre-show. That's my apologies. Unprofessional.
Children, can't take them anywhere. Yeah, just hold them up in front of your face the rest of the all night.
I'll ask him what he thinks when it's necessary.
Okay.
I do have something to ask you though, Michael. At some point, I read an article this week about who the next successor could be to Roethlisberger.
Good question.
He's not on the team. I'll tell you that.
He's not on the team.
No, it's not Mason Rudolph. I know a lot of Steelers beat reporters have been giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, this was a Bears beat reporter, and he said Mitch Trubisky.
No, don't you dare. No, okay. If you want to bring some outside, like NFL options that are, like, we're not talking college, I would love to see Sam Darnold get a shot in Pittsburgh. I'd love to get a shot with an actual coaching staff, with actual weapons, and hopefully good offensive line. I mean, they're aging poorly, and they got to find replacements, but I'd love to see Sam Darnold get a shot there. I wouldn't mind seeing Jameis Winston, maybe, but he couldn't beat out Taysom Hill, so I really don't want to see that. Yeah,
Well, I don't know if Jameis just didn't beat out Taysom so much as that Sean Payton was just like, yeah, we just
He paid
promised.
Taysom. He had to pay. He has to play him now.
But either way,
I don't think we can count out Dak leaving the Cowboys either.
no. But I don't think the Steelers are still in salary cap hell.
Yeah.
It's definitely Dak is. I still think he returns. I talked last week or 2 weeks ago, I don't remember, but about Denver being a really interesting location for Dak. I would love to see that playing there. I want Jerry Jeudy to get a quarterback as soon as possible. That's all I want in my life right now.
I agree with that.
I don't think Trubisky would be a bad fit in Pittsburgh.
I am as anti-Trubisky a person as you will meet.
Yeah, I don't think Trubisky's a good fit anywhere.
See, what I would like to say is that you saw how he played this past Sunday when the game plan actually allowed him to get out of the pocket to make the throws that he needs to make instead of Matt Nagy bullshit.
Sure. I'm just going to say I trust what I've seen from him and decision-making from him over the past 4 years over what I saw last week against, what was it? It was Houston. Yeah.
Houston, they played
A
Houston.
banged up secondary.
Yeah, banged up secondary that didn't really have too much talent to begin with. That also Justin Reed's also hitting the shelf today. So that defense has nothing left. But
Yeah, you're starting wide receivers playing Houston from now on.
yeah, you get
They did actually talk about that during the game, how J.J. Watt made this tackle on a screen pass. And they were like, had he not made the tackle, Montgomery would have gone to the house.
a sentence no one would have said.
J.J. Watt made the tackle 15 yards downfield after he got beat on the screen.
That's J.J. Watt.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Here's
Where
a
do
question.
you think J.J. Watt lands? That's another question.
Is he a free agent?
He is.
He wants out of Houston.
I believe he is next 2022, I think. Is it this year?
I think I could definitely see him this offseason demanding a release.
I could see it.
I don't think he'll do that. I think he's under contract for 1 more year. They're obviously not going to cut him, but
Actually, they could. 2021 is not guaranteed.
Oh no! Oh yeah. No, it's not guaranteed, but there's no way they're not on salary cap difficulties. They
Yeah. But I mean, if you don't want a player that is clearly not wanting to be there,
if I had to,
that's not good for like the team.
I
Like
mean,
you have a guy that's just not wanting to be there and not showing. I mean, not saying that JJ Watt would ever be the guy to not show up to play on a Sunday, regardless of the situation. But I mean, he could very well express his displeasure with the entire organization, and you can't let that continue.
yeah, no. If he wants out and the organization wants to do right by him, which they should, given what he's given that the entire franchise. He'll be going to the NFC. It'll be through a trade, I think, unless we're talking 2022. But if we're talking next season, when it'll be coming through a trade, it will be shipped over to the NFC. They wouldn't keep him in the AFC. Why not the Vikings? The Vikings they've been trying to find an edge rusher for a while. Yet no.
No, because I don't want to face JJ Watt twice a year for the rest of the year.
How about that?
I honestly thought Vikings might have had their answer with Yannick Ngakoue.
I still think they might have. Mike Zimmer's system is tough to learn, but as we've seen in recent weeks, Minnesota has grown. Yeah. Minnesota's awful to start the year, but Mike Zimmer is a great coach, and it just took him some time. So I really think
is Zimmer going to be there next year?
Oh yeah, they gave him an extension. I think the offseason. I like Mike Zimmer. I think Mike Zimmer.
I love Mike Zimmer, but it's a question of whether they're going to keep that up.
I think that
the last couple of years have been great.
I don't think the Vikings go after. If the situation happened, I don't think they would get JJ Watt because I think that the Vikings could actually go defense this year in the draft. And to get an up-and-coming lineman or an end to pair with Danielle Hunter to replace the loss of Everson Griffin, I think that's the route that they would go.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't see the Vikings getting any older.
Yeah, that's all fair to say. It's just it feels like the overcompensation move that they would say, listen, we're still that one piece away, and they're going to add JJ Watt, and then maybe they draft like an offensive lineman instead. And they hope that
I think they might have got the memo that Rodgers isn't done yet, though. So
is Rodgers in Green Bay next year? I think that's the closer. I think he is, but
he's got to be, right?
I think he is. I've looked at his contract a little bit, and it would cost them a lot of money to get rid of Rodgers.
And the entire LaFleur scheme is based around Rodgers. So
it makes here we are in December. Jordan Love, why did they pick? If you really look through the draft class right now, there's not a single contributor to that team.
I think A.J. Dillon's a bigger bust than Jordan Love.
You could make the argument for both. I mean,
I like Jamal Williams out of that backfield.
Jamal Williams is also. I mean, that's the whole backfield's up for questions as well. Because Aaron Jones walks after this year, I don't think they bring him back.
I agree.
Then what does A.J. Dillon get a run? A guy who you've given 20 career carries to?
I want to see Jamal Williams in Miami next year.
I think Jamal Williams is nothing more than a wannabe Jordan Howard. And prime Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard when he was actually had some legs. But
I think he's a little more elusive than Howard. Better downfield runner.
Yeah. Howard's more of a power guy.
Jamal Williams has bulked up this year.
He has.
Like the year before, he was more of a third down guy, a lot more elusive than I just saw this year. I've never really been a Jamal. I've never really been a fan, but I think he fits a very certain role now. He's huge. He's not going to be a breakaway run. Compliment Miles Sanders and steal some touches. Sort of that literal Jordan Howard role. I don't know. Maybe I'm too stuck on the Jordan Howard column.
Jordan Howard won me a fantasy league like 2 years ago, so I'm okay with it.
See, yeah, I had him as breakout year in the last four or 5 weeks. I love Jordan Howard.
Yeah,
very upset with him.
Jordan. I dislike Jordan Howard. I drafted him in his slump year, and it was not good.
I think I did too that following year, and it went downhill quick.
But I mean, you brought up some good landing spots for Jamal Williams, and I think he could end up going to Philly if they're not happy with Boston Scott, which I thought he filled in pretty well while Miles Sanders was gone, but maybe not. But another free agent that could be hitting the market is if you're the Panthers, do you sell Mike Davis while he's high right now?
I don't know if anyone's buying.
Yeah. I think Mike Davis is also. I'm looking at his contract right now, but I think he might also be he's a free agent as well, so he's gonna have his free picking.
Yeah.
Is
So
this
I
a
think,
fantasy question or a real life team question? I think real life they let him walk.
yeah, real life. I think you let him walk until you figure out at least who he's going to.
But if he ends up in like a McKissick role behind Antonio Gibson, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Even though it might vulture a couple snaps from Gibson.
It would make me upset almost as a Mike Davis. I need Gibson. I have no dynasty shares of Gibson. I tried so hard to get him in the offseason, but he's ready for a 3-down role next year. There's people with time for breakouts, so I think it's going on a little bit.
Are we ready to say Ezekiel Elliott isn't a top 10 dynasty back anymore? Is this a legitimate question?
I don't know what to do with this man. I have had him. I had an offer. Actually, I'll bring it up now. I had an offer for him. I think it was on deadline, like 5 minutes before the deadline went going. It was Zeke in the 201 for Aaron Jones and like the 312. I couldn't pull it. I'm the number one seed. I'm a strong contender. I have to play Zeke this week because Raheem Mostert's probably going to be.
I would have hold there too. I don't think Zeke's a top 10 dynasty back in my eyes, but he's very well perceived value at that.
Yeah.
So even next year when he has a big game or two, then you could sell.
Exactly. Like I feel like selling him right now is only going to his value has to rise. I don't think he's cratered yet.
Whether even if it's just a 2-week rise, people will bite at that. So
it'll be interesting to see if Tony Pollard's here to stay. If we saw him reeling Bob last week, it could be Zeke dealing with that calf bruise. But I've also always been I'm a fan of Tony Pollard as well. I don't think Tony Pollard's a bad running back. So
yeah, I agree with that.
if that works into a timeshare, I still don't think so because we're still going to be paying Zeke. Still going to be under that massive.
Yeah, they got 90 mil tied up in Zeke. I don't think there's a timeshare coming with Jerry Jones.
Exactly. So I do think he still gets that run next season, and I'll be looking to sell him. But
yeah, with the healthy O-line and Dak, he could return to the top 5 form. Will he? The age, the attrition on the body plays a pretty big role. So I guess it's the only time we'll tell now.
I'm still not spending that top 10 dynasty pick, though. I think you're right there.
I agree.
For what it's worth, our friends over at Dynasty League Football, my former employer, have Ezekiel Elliott as the number 15 overall dynasty asset,
Wow.
running back number 8.
Running back 8, overall 15.
Yep, he's right between Chubb and Derrick Henry. Just other folks that are right in that range. So 10 to 20 is Jonathan Taylor, Michael Thomas, CEH, Justin Jefferson, Chubb, Zeke, Henry, DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs, CeeDee Lamb, Chris Godwin are 10 to 20.
Well,
to start on that, I think Jefferson's a little too high.
I don't think so. I think I'd start. Oh man, I'm sold on Jefferson. I was high on him coming out. I think I would take Jefferson over Zeke in the starter.
Oh, I would take him over Zeke, 100%. Overall wise, I think he's a little high. I would have Jacobs above both of them.
Maybe I'm burned from. Also, I don't know if you guys saw, speaking of Jacobs, you guys see the Matthew Berry beef with him a couple hours ago?
No.
I missed that.
Matthew Berry came out with he had a little rant on one of his segments about Josh Jacobs giving us all the middle finger with the story post right before game time where he was like, "I'm not going to play." It's like, "Psych, screw you, fancy guys, I'm going to do it." And the middle finger emoji.
Right. Jacobs
ended up blocking him like on all social media platforms, and Matthew Berry was just going off on him on Twitter, and it was Josh Jacobs' struggles this year have been really strange because I don't think the offensive line is bad enough to excuse what he's kind of failed to do, and I'm not sure what's the problem. I really don't.
I think it's a mix of a terrible offensive line and the fact that Derek Carr has stepped up and thrown the ball well this year, along with side that their defense couldn't stop anybody. So the game scripts haven't been really heavy Josh Jacobs favorite. Now next year, if they address offensive line, maybe secondary, maybe defensive front, they could boast that up, and you could see his value shoot up.
Yeah.
So I would have him above Zeke, and I'd probably have him above Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, that's fair. Jefferson and Jacobs would be really close for me. I guess if I'm gearing I probably would take Jacobs in a backfield. And starting off in my draft, I would probably start with the running back. Still, when I come back around, still grab plenty of youth.
Yeah, wide receiver nowadays has gotten so deep.
Yeah,
so deep.
I had my rebuild league. I was fully anticipating I tore it all apart. Sold Henry, sold Mostert, sold Keenan Allen, a whole bunch of guys. And I started this year with like T. Higgins, Chase Claypool, and Justin Jefferson, fully expecting this is a lot for dead last.
Yeah.
And no, it wasn't. But I mean, it's still I still finished at third to last, but it's interesting, man. It's the impact of rookie receivers earlier and earlier is a weird. It's not a weird trend, but it's something I didn't really see coming this year. I thought it would take time. I didn't draft a single rookie receiver anywhere for redrafts.
I think it was more or less where the rookie receivers went that really, really helped fantasy people. CeeDee Lamb obviously going to, Mike McCarthy run offense in Dallas. You had Jerry Jeudy going to Denver, and you didn't know how well he was going to play. And then Cortland Sutton goes down, and all of a sudden, hey, Jerry Jeudy is kind of my number one guy right now. And then you Justin Jefferson in Minnesota. I don't know that I think people expected Jefferson to perform well, but nobody could have predicted, hey, Justin Jefferson is going to blow the doors off everybody this year.
He was my rookie 3 coming out.
Yeah, I was very high on Jefferson. So I still ended up taking him, and it was strange because CeeDee Lamb I didn't expect to have this big of an impact. I figured rookie year he'd fill into what Randall Cobb did last year. It'd be a solid rookie year, maybe a little bit better, bigger plays, bigger splash games. But he was on track. He was going to be a top 20 receiver if Dak stayed healthy, like without a doubt. Could have been higher.
Him and Cooper.
Yeah, and Cooper, and it was Gallup, the guy who was left out, who I am. That's a dynasty buy for me right now. I still am quite a Gallup fan, and I think he's a real trade candidate coming up in real life purposes. But I lost the train of thought. But like even Chase Claypool was buried on the depth chart, and then if it's a good lesson to have in dynasty. If you believe in your guys, you're going to just you take them because early on when Chase Claypool was drafted, we're thinking 2021, maybe even 2022, if somehow, even though they wouldn't retain Juju, and he's still behind that pecking order. But if you believe in Chase Claypool, you took him, and wherever you took him, you're happy with it. And
yep.
Yeah, I mean, like people like I still remember I panic picked like in one of my rebuilds. I had a ton of picks, so I was like, you know what? I have no running backs on my roster. Why not take a shot on Zach Moss, someone who I wasn't high on, but relative to ADP, he was slipping. And I'm not feeling good about that now, I'll tell you what. But you take the guys you want in Dynasty. You do your research beforehand, and that's what you do.
Yep. Is Juju staying in Pittsburgh next year?
No shot. And I mean,
thank you. I agree with that. I've had a lot of my Steelers. My brother's actually a Steelers fan, and he's convinced he's staying. And I'm like,
I would love it, but I'd also hate it because they have a long history of not paying receivers. So that's part of it. And then people will point to the AB contracts, and AB was a special case. They didn't extend Emmanuel Sanders, they didn't extend Holmes.
And I believe a year from now, it's Watt's turn to get paid.
That's the other thing. Yeah,
you're not letting TJ Watt walk.
Yeah, they're currently 20 mil or projected to be 20 mil under the salary cap, and the whole COVID has screwed the Steelers because the salary cap dropped 20 mil. So all of a sudden, instead of being right where they have to be, they gotta find money, and Keith amazing at doing that. But or not Keith Butler. What I just said the defensive coordinator. Oh, whatever. The
And my
Steelers.
guess is Juju would demand like 9 to 11 mil a year. I put him in that range.
And
I
right
would think.
at age 23, 24, he's got plenty of growth to still make, and he's going to get that money somewhere. I think I've been trying to pick a spot.
No.
I want to say the Patriots, but they don't have they don't spend out.
I like him in Miami, to be honest. So Coley.
I like Green Bay.
Miami would be great. Green Bay would be great. I think Green Bay could go after Corey Davis.
I don't think Green Bay's answer is another receiver right now.
Really?
No, I think that they're gonna go with that Devontae Adams and Allen Lazard combo.
Oh God, please, no, please.
I think they're legitimate Super Bowl contenders if they got a Corey Davis, a Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm talking. I think they're a top 2 team in football.
Imagine someone who could.
Yeah, I think that they look at trying to help out that defense, really, to be honest.
But they've tried and they've failed. That's where I get iffy. They've spent all this capital into the defense, and it hasn't proven to be the thing. I think it's time to spend the capital on skill position players and weapons that will help Aaron Rodgers in the next even 2 years. You go and win that Super Bowl, and then you banked on Jordan Love, so there's your guy to follow. So I think this is the year Packers need to go get a receiver and do it.
Sitting as a Bears fan and watching what the Packers do over basically my entire life, the Packers don't spend big money for offensive skill position players. That is something that they have stayed consistent with the entire time.
Yes, Russ Ball.
Yeah, and I think that's why maybe they go after Corey Davis. I don't think Corey Davis in this COVID-filled offseason, as much as I love Corey Davis,
is going to get a lot.
I don't think he's going to break the bank. Like I think he could slip to a Robbie Anderson type of deal, maybe a little bit more, or definitely more. But like we're talking 3 years, 28. I think something around that range. And I don't think that would be a bank for them.
I was thinking 3 years, 21, 18. That was more my range. I don't think the one breakout year banks him 9 mil a year.
Yeah, I mean either way. If it's 3 years, 21, 3 years, 28, I don't think 9 mil a year over that. Over 3 years, which that third year would obviously be non-guaranteed. They can get out of that. I think that's something they would be able to do. And that's not a long-term hit on their salary cap. That's perfectly that lines them up with Aaron Rodgers. I think like Juju, I think will demand that 5 year, like that 5 year, 10 plus, like you said, 10 to 12 plus mil a year commitment. I don't think they'll go after that. I think they'll go after a lesser guy that's still. I think the organizational pressure is too much to ignore it now. I don't think they can not.
I agree.
Wide receiver.
Doug, what do you think?
Yeah, I think at this point if they really think that Rodgers' window is closing, if they think that so how old is Rodgers now?
37.
37. He's guys can play into their 40s, but I don't know if you're going to be winning any championships once you start getting into my age range. So yeah, I would say they probably are seeing the windows the next couple of years, and if the opportunity presents itself, we've seen Green Bay be conservative, though, throughout the years. Even with the change in general manager, they were still pretty conservative about what they're taking.
Right.
But the fact that they took Jordan Love in the first round tells me that they think there's a finite end to Rodgers. And if you're going to say, if he busts out and say the Final Four, let's say they don't make the Super Bowl, but they lose to whoever in the NFC title game, and he goes into the front office pitching and screaming a fit, saying, "Look, if I had one more offensive weapon, we'd be in the Super Bowl right now." Then maybe they pull the trigger on something.
I just think in an NFL league nowadays where we see Patrick Mahomes, we see Deshaun Watsons, we see Josh Allens and Russell Wilsons, and quarterbacks that ultimately can put themselves back in a football game. You need those additional weapons. That Wilson has Lockett and Metcalf. Mahomes has Kelsey and Hill and Hardman and all them guys. So I think in this day and age, having a lack of offensive weapons hurts way more than it could ever help.
Yeah, and Green Bay's defense, it's not far. Like that run defense it's a work in progress. But that's if you want to address draft picks there, grab another defensive tackle, get some pass rush. Someone to help Zadarius Smith, that could be something. You could do that through the draft. But if you just spend a little bit of money at wide receiver, at least even to show that you care to Rodgers, because Rodgers is going to take it personally again. But like at this point, it's going to be spiteful. Right now, it's he's having fun out there. He's loving everyone wrong. But if you go another year after an MVP like season, another year of not addressing him, he's going to start spiking the ball for no reason and just ending these games.
We could see a Brett first.
Like I think if they don't address it again, there's a real world he's asking for a trade by week 8.
Well, I think that's what's happening under everyone's nose here is I think that's happening with Dak Prescott in Dallas. I honestly do not think Dak resigns in Dallas. I think Jerry Jones has stuck his nose out there and signed every other person on that Dallas Cowboys roster, who, whether or not they were worth it or not, he signed them. He took care of them as he has done in the past for guys like Tony Romo and Jason Garrett. He took care of them, but when it came to his star QB, the only guy that's keeping him in football games, he didn't pay him. He offered him Jared Goff level money.
Yeah, I think the injury only makes it worse because Dak's not going to lower his price, and I don't think Jerry's going to try to use that as a reason. Like, hey, I'm not going to raise it. You just busted your ankle.
Well, I think Dak's going to use it to be like, hey, you guys are 2-10 without me.
Yeah, and even more so. And I don't know if Jerry Jones races it. We've had 3 years now to get this deal done. He's been asking for 3 years.
Right.
And I said in the freaking beginning, back when everyone was like, Dak's an overrated quarterback, you have to pay him. Quarterbacks like this, you don't find them. Like, he's still a very, very good quarterback. You can win with Dak Prescott. And we see what it is without him. And that defense is terrible. Dak is still like that. I keep on seeing stats every single week, but he is still ahead of Drew Lock in like every single category. It's confounding that like I hope he hits free agency. I hope he gets out of Dallas, and I hope some team.
Something I would, as an NFL fan who just likes this people who stir the pot a little bit. How apropos would it be if Dak Prescott landed with the Washington football team next year? Just to stick it to Jerry Jones.
That'd be great, but Jerry will never let that happen.
Oh, dude,
you're right. He would overpay Dak by a couple $100 million before that.
I don't know. Jerry Jones makes a lot of stupid decisions. I mean, he kept Jason Garrett around a long time.
Yeah.
Yep. The Zeke contract doesn't look too good. The Jalen Smith contract doesn't look too good.
The Marcus Lawrence contract doesn't look too good.
Right.
Jerry Jones should not be a general manager. He should just be an owner. I mean, but that's been said by everyone at this point.
Yeah, he's just a buyer's GM. He bought the team and said, I can run it. He's playing with his toy is what he's doing.
Yep. Nail on the head.
That would be amazing. I want Terry to get a quarterback in the world. I am a Terry McLaurin fan.
That would put Washington, I'd put him as a top contender in the NFC, I would think. The way that defense has come along.
Immediately, yeah. And that's a young defense. That's Ron Rivera coaching that defense. You still have Terry out there. You go in the draft. You draft a wide receiver. Maybe Logan Thomas continues to develop.
Antonio headed monster in the backfield.
I'm talking myself into Washington right there. They're a quarterback away. Wow, I didn't put 2 and 2
Alex Smith is going to win him a playoff game. Hopefully he's healthy.
Sicoli, I don't know if you saw a while back, DJ called you out on having a gallon of water on the air.
It only looks like water. He's in college. That's vodka.
I'm at home.
Sicoli is not that hard.
I'm not that hardcore. I am a simple boy with my simple water Poland Spring.
And I think it's a Wednesday night.
It's a Wednesday night. Now, it's the fantasy playoffs, all right? If things don't go right, Monday Night Football is going to be – this isn't going to be water. But, if – as of now, I'm sitting pretty. I'm projected to win in both of my playoff games. So this is just water. This is all good.
I am in 2 out of 6 leagues. I made it through to 2.
I was 2 out of 7. I'm with you.
And I will say that the Jarvis Landry counted fumble cost me 2 separate leagues. It was devastating.
Yeah. I also got booted from – I was in the playoffs in 3 leagues, and I got booted from the big money league that I was in. And at first I thought it was because earlier in the day I decided to make a last-minute switch and sub Noah Fant into my lineup and remove my other tight end. And Noah Fant gets sick in like the first quarter and leaves. And
rough.
I mean, my tight end that I subbed him out for was Hayden Hurst, so it's not like he did any better. And I was mad that like my tight end position screwed me out of the win until my opponent's players just started putting up stupid numbers. And I mean, T.Y. Hilton had a great week, his best week of the year. Travis Kelce had a huge week. Josh Allen had a good week.
Montgomery.
Cam Akers. I mean, I was just getting blasted from all sides. And my team didn't have a bad week, minus the tight end position putting up a goose egg. I put up 140 points. And I just couldn't keep up with his offense. And that's one of those weeks where you can't be mad at the lineup you set because you set a good lineup. The other guy just had a better one. And I think that's the most frustrating part that I think we've all felt at one point in a fantasy season.
That was a question I always was curious when I would cover prep sports or when I covered sports. I would ask coaches, I would ask them, would you rather get blown out and know that you're not good enough, that they just were better that day, or would you rather lose by a couple of points and say if this thing or that thing would have gone our way, we'd have won this game? Which one hurts less?
Getting blown out.
I don't know. I think it's almost the hey, we almost won because it's when you get blown out, it's such a defeating feeling where you're just like, we absolutely suck, and like what are we supposed to do? Whereas when you like barely, you're focusing on that. Hey, we are almost there. That one play that could have gone the other way that didn't go our way, that was the play we need to hit. And I think when that happens, you're a lot more engaged and you're trying to figure out how to overcome that.
And it can definitely be. I actually tend to view it the other way. I mean, just from my own if I got blown out in a soccer game growing up, I would have the feeling that, and it feels unbelievably terrible, but I cannot let that happen again. That's the feeling I have, and that tends to motivate me. Whereas that one goal game, that one thing away, that will stick with me
right
long, and it'll hurt my confidence a little bit. That thing where I'll be like, and it comes down to the leaders on the team on how you perceive these, and you need people from both sides of the spectrum. And that's where coaches tear apart that locker room to find the right one, and that's what Brian Flores did in Miami. That's a team that was losing, and then they rallied behind it.
Brian Flores is doing an excellent job.
Unbelievable job. And Miami hung in with KC with no weapons as each and every one dipped from that game.
I think that game
KC sucks.
Yeah, KC is no longer number 1 on the power rankings.
Notice how he didn't show up this week to defend those power. Now he had a different reason. I'm just giving it crap, but yeah.
I actually think that game said. Oh.
I do think that if DJ puts KC at the top of the power rankings, it can be confirmed that he's just a super biased fan.
Oh, we knew that already.
It can be taken as fact.
So frauds. KC.
I like that game. He always was tearing down the AFC North that he was saying was not legit, and the AFC North is the only division that has 3 teams that are plus 500.
Yeah.
I do think that KC game actually said more about Kansas City than it did Miami.
Really?
I think the reason why is Patrick Mahomes can have his worst day ever, and Kansas City still finds a way to win.
I don't need this. As the Steelers,
I hate to say it because as a football fan, you don't like to see a team just flat out dominate. But if Kansas City's on all cylinders, there's no stopping them.
you can't
You
make.
could combine the Steelers' defense, the Saints' defense, Green Bay's offense, Seattle's offense, and the Chiefs are still giving you a run.
Yeah, and I would say that's what Mahomes does, but Mahomes didn't, and they sleptwalked to 34 points, 37. I don't remember, but it. They didn't show up, and they still won by a score, and it's terrifying as a Steelers fan because this is my 1 year. I am well aware that this is their 1 year for the next 7 years.
I think that window's closed.
Oh, don't do that. No.
I think the window's closed.
The window is still open right now. All right. They have that defense is still great. I don't care that they lost Bud Dupree. Doug, please. Let us smack Cincinnati this week, all right? And then I'll feel a little bit better.
It's
And
going to be 21-18 final.
They should be
now five picks for Ben. And Michael logs off.
It's fine. It's fine. I have to take this from people who have to watch Mitch Trubisky each weekend. So I know
I watched Jalen Hurts beat my Saints this weekend, so that felt good.
That was surprising.
Yeah.
As someone who didn't believe in Jalen Hurts coming out, and I still am I'm not going to change my pre-draft thoughts by 2 games, but
I think it has all to do with the fact that Carson Wentz is the problem.
I maintain that Doug Peterson is just as much of an issue. I can't explain Travis Fulgham not playing.
I can second that. But why has every other quarterback in the past 3 years that stepped on a field for the Philadelphia Eagles played much better than Wentz? Everyone in the offense gets more involved without Wentz in the lineup. We saw Sanders have a great day. The Ertz and Goddard get utilized more. Wentz just is. And what I've heard, I believe I read this from a Philadelphia beat writer. He was saying that most elite quarterbacks walk in and when they make a mistake, they listen to their coach. Wentz holds his head down and keeps that same arrogance he had back in 2017 when he was an MVP candidate. So he thinks what his decisions and his offensive calls are doing at the line of scrimmage are ultimately better when they're far, far worse.
I think I've said it. I think it's all mental with Carson Wentz, and
I agree.
I think partly you can blame the Eagles. That's what I chose to believe as Wentz truther, where you have the whole Nick Foles talk, where we all deep down, every single person ever knew that Carson Wentz was the better option than Nick Foles. I don't care that he won the Super Bowl. I don't care that he was maybe a better fit in the offense. Carson Wentz was the future.
I agree with that.
But then you have to deal with that debacle for the 2 years, and then then there's the injury talk, which you can't fault him for. He played 16 last year as well.
He's tough.
Playoffs. He played through it.
He's super tough.
And maybe throughout that, I'm like you said, I'm sure there's locker room stuff, and maybe that's affecting on the field. But then you go out and draft Jalen Hurts in the second round, which now it looks like a great decision. But it's you don't get him help. You draft J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in the second round like once, and that's all you've really done for him. You drafted Dallas Goedert 3 years ago, and Miles Sanders because you had no other running back. You were running with the corpse of Legarrette Blount. Like it's. I don't know. And that's why Carson Wentz would also be a person I'd like to see in Pittsburgh in a couple of years. Get him off that contract and get him in a different spot. But
I think it takes more than just Wentz leaving Philly. I don't think that actually happens. I think he starts the first game of next season for Philly. I think Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are too arrogant to let that contract bleed through.
Yeah.
They can't.
Especially when they spent the draft capital they did to move up and get the second overall pick.
They won't get out of the contract. They're paying him too much, and they're stuck for at least 2021. No one's
So I
going.
believe after 2021,
Mhm.
even if he sits the bench, if he rides the bench majority of the year next year, I think that would help his mentality, and I think leaving and going to a team like Indianapolis would help his mentality.
The future in Indy is also that's not to pivot off of Wentz, but does Rivers come back? Because that team is. I realize I'm now full pivoting off the Wentz talk, but I
We
that
spent
was-
enough on Wentz. It's all right.
We can put Dak in Indy. That's fine.
Yeah, we'll put Dak there. Perfect.
they still have the cap room. They haven't really they spent it on DeForest Buckner, which
I think they're second in the NFL in cap.
yeah, they still have it, and it's remarkable. They've had it for a few years, and everyone was like, "You should spend it." I thought they were going to go out and get I thought they were going to go out and get Clowney and overpay for Clowney, which I'm glad they didn't.
I don't know why anybody would overpay for Clowney or even pay for Clowney. Talk
It
about
is.
draft capital getting you money. That's what it is.
And he hasn't. I think he honestly got signed to Tennessee earlier on in the season,
Yeah, on a 1-year deal.
and I don't think he's done a whole lot.
I think he's hurt now.
I think he's hurt. I mean, that's also part of Jadeveon Clowney's career.
Yeah.
He just had season-ending surgery 2 weeks ago, but yeah, he didn't have a sack this year, so that tells you he's played every single game up to week 10, with the exception of week 9. So I thought Tennessee was actually a really good landing spot for him, being reunited with Mike Vrabel. I had hope there, but hasn't worked out. I think this is pretty much
Nail in the coffin.
The situational role in the future, but he's not getting anything more than a prove-it deal. But yeah, the Colts this season are still incredibly under talked about. What DeForest Buckner honestly has been the move of the offseason. There have been some great moves by a ton of different general managers, but I think DeForest Buckner for that first round pick he's transformed it.
I think the best move of last offseason, that's where we are.
Yeah, this past spring.
It has to be Buckner.
Yeah, it's and at the time, I thought it was great for both sides. You know, Colts have the cap room. I like Javon Kinlaw, who is also looking.
Niners shed cap room, getting rid of Buckner.
Yeah, Niners couldn't really pay him. They got Javon Kinlaw, who is, to his credit, has looked great as well, or at least flashed exactly what we thought it'd be. He was a little bit raw, but he's shown everything he could. But DeForest Buckner is a game-changing talent, and I'm very glad that he's realizing that right now.
The best move over the offseason, which is also coincidentally the stupidest move over the offseason, is the D-Hop trade.
Oh,
okay.
I don't even count that as a transaction.
That is 100% the best. You took a Cardinals team that had a big question mark over it of where they would finish and immediately made them playoff contenders.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. That move is so forgettable. I just want DeAndre Hopkins to be known as a Cardinal forever. He doesn't need a Texans legacy after that.
The Texans deserve to be remembered with DeAndre.
Yeah, Texans don't deserve to have D-Hop as one of their legendary receivers.
What did they say that DeAndre Hopkins in his career, I don't think he's failed to record 1,000-yard season. And he's gone through 11 different quarterbacks.
Yeah, I was about to say he had like Matt Schaub and Chad Henne or Brock Osweiler for a few games. And...
Oh, yeah, Osweiler, yeah. Which is just insane how you can look at your team and be like, yeah, this receiver's the problem. What?
He hasn't been under 1,000 yards since 2016. He had 954 then. Then he
How
had
many games?
In 16. That's the other thing as well. Outside of 2019, where he played 15, and 2017, he played 15. He's played 16 every year.
I think he averages less than a drop a year, too.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has the best hands in the league.
And did he actually play with Deshaun in college, too? Wasn't he a senior when Deshaun was a freshman? So they actually already had chemistry?
Yep. Everything pointed as that was the perfect pairing when Watson was drafted, and they traded him for a bag of balls.
After proving that was exactly right, that it was the perfect match.
Right.
And the reasoning behind it made no sense either, because Hopkins was asking for a raise. They were like, we don't really want to pay a receiver. There's some studies that show that paying you don't need an elite receiver to win a Super Bowl. It's like, okay, I could kind of get it. But then you trade him for nothing. You trade him for literally a second. You trade him for a defensive tackle, a reserve defensive tackle for the worst run defense in the league, and David Johnson, who's the slowest running back in the league at this point. And then you call it a day. And then you go out and trade for Brandon Cooks, who has one of the biggest contracts in the league as well at wide receiver.
Not biggest, but overpaid for sure. One of the most overpaid wide receivers.
I mean, he's still getting paid. I think it was like $14 million a year or something crazy. He's still on that.
Is he that high?
I'll double check it right now.
I think that the Texans looked at the league and they said that we want to go after a model of what the Chiefs have. So they went and they got two speedsters. They already had Will Fuller, so they went and got Brandon Cooks, and they did not feel like DeAndre Hopkins was their speedster, which he still got wheels. The guy can run. I don't know. I think you look at it from that angle, and you see that you can kind of see what the Texans were doing, but at the same time, you can't see what they were doing because you can't get over the glaring fact that they got rid of DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you look at like a Buffalo team, and I think they've emulated a Kansas City style offense better than Houston has.
Oh,
I would venture to say I think Buffalo is the strongest contender in the AFC to beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
And that very well could be Buffalo versus KC. That could be the AFC Championship.
Yeah. Buffalo's best shot, though, they would have needed no, nobody cares about Pittsburgh, Mike.
Yeah, I know.
I think Cleveland's a bigger contender.
They're going to get by Cleveland in the first round.
I think Cleveland's a bigger contender to the Chiefs than the Steelers are.
I don't know what I'll do with myself if there are first round apps out. And they really could be. It would not surprise me at all.
There's just no explosion in Pittsburgh on offense. Absolutely none.
The problem is that instead of like their entire thing is throwing it quick, is that Big Ben has the quickest release. It's 2.2 seconds, and that's great. But if there is no alternative, if you take, like they do this every single game, they go, either take a big shot on the first down, take a big shot on third down on that first drive, and that's it. Then it's bubble screen, slant to Deontay, that's dropped. Then curl to Eric Ebron, dropped. And then end of drive for the next three goes. And then at that point, the defense is on the field every single minute. So if they can, they need to open up some intermediate passes. They need 15-yard completions. I have not seen a 15-yard completion in Pittsburgh. It's either 40, which isn't even happening. No, it's not 40. It's 2. And then
I think that the main problem in Pittsburgh, I don't think it's actually the quick release, because that actually would fare well against Kansas City as they control a lot of clock, keep Mahomes off the field. The problem is that you have absolutely no run game. Absolutely no way to establish the run. So Big Ben is forced to throw the ball so quick. He's forced into these situations where he has to dump it off and rely on the slant and the dig routes and the underneath crosses and all those short routes. He has to rely on those because they have no run game.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem, is that instead of the 2-second pass being an asset, it's a forced thing.
Right.
So they have nothing else to go. Big Ben can't throw deep anymore. I love him. He can't throw deep. He's completing like 15% of those passes. I think like half of the attempts are going for picks right now, and he doesn't have too many picks to begin with. So if he's going deep, it's not happening. So they need to either open up the run game to balance out this offense where I have not seen, and it's partly because Big Ben can't move anymore, but they can't run play action. So you're taking out, it's such a one-dimensional offense where you're desperately counting on Deontay Johnson to make a slant catch, and I can't trust him right now.
I think the most dynamic offensive player in Pittsburgh right now is Chase Claypool.
Who has been slashed in snaps for the last 3 weeks? I don't get it.
I think Deontay Johnson needs to be the one to see a slash in snaps.
I think Johnson's the most dynamic guy personally. Johnson is exactly what this offense needs, is exactly what this offense is schemed to do. I think he's the best after catch. I think he's the quickest guy that they got. It's not free Deontay, though, because he can't catch. So they need
Yeah.
him because he's not putting the work in. If he
I don't
be on the field. But
I love his yards after catch ability. I love his elusiveness and ability to get downfield quick. But I think the ultimate thing that matters is, especially with a playoff concern like the Steelers, a team that ultimately feels like a 1 year window, you need a guy that you can rely on to go up and get a ball, to go down and he can get low catches, go across the field and catch the ball. And I don't think that Deontay Johnson can be trusted with those situations, while Chase Claypool, when put in those situations, has shown he could thrive. He's shown back in, I believe it was week 4 or 5, he had 3 touchdown game, followed it with another 2 touchdown game. He showed he can almost carry an offense as an elite wide receiver one at such a young age. He showed that dynamic ability to absolutely stretch the field. And when you don't have a run game, it's hard to scheme around Chase Claypool because he's not that guy that quick slant, that underneath route reliability target as Deontay Johnson and Eric Ebron have been. So I think it's all about establishing the run in Pittsburgh, and they have to figure out a way to do it.
and if they're not trying to establish something, they've also gone away from the spread. Like
Yep.
like early in the season, and I loved it. You would see Deontay, you would see Juju, you see Chase Claypool lined out, you see Eric Ebron out wide, maybe you can see a running back out in the slot or something. But so many options. If you're going to run a 2-second offense or a 2-second throw, I want to see hurry up. I want to see spread. I want to see
Yep.
two weapons that they can't
Stretch the field.
exactly. And
Yeah.
if you're not gonna do that, then it's so clear what you're going to do. You're bunching the defense. You're not spreading them out, and you're bringing them close to the line already. And you know the pass is going short. You know if it's a run, it's already going to be short, and it's not going to be a run. So it worked early on, but they haven't tried changing it, and they need to figure it out. Get Ray McLeod a few more end arounds. I love Ray McLeod, even though he really screwed them over last week. But just be innovative with that offense.
That's an offense you're going to have to be innovative. I agree. A lot of motion, a lot of audibles at the line of scrimmage, try to create plays to get your best player open, get your best players like Juju open. Juju should not be getting 9 catches for 54 yards.
And
he's a more dynamic player than that. Whether he is a deep threat or not, he's an animal in the slot. He can create space over the middle. And I don't think these are all the things that they are utilizing to their advantage instead of being at a disadvantage.
And the first 6 weeks they were doing that. They were running those motions, and I don't know why they've gone away from it. They should go back to it. I don't know. It's going to cost them a bye, I'll tell you what.
Cost them a bye that first round knockout.
Let's not. Let's just. If it happens, you could talk to me then, and by then I mean like 2 weeks after. But let's not think about that, please.
No, we're gonna text you directly once the clock hits 0.
Well, if the Saints meet Arizona, I think the Saints are in for a first round knockout too. So I'll be there with you.
It would be quite Saints. I'll be honest. How does it feel to be a Saints fan over the last few years with the playoffs?
I will use 3 words. One word to describe the 3 years: heartbreak from Minneapolis Miracle, depression from the missed PI, and absolutely disappointment from the Kyle Rudolph game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, that seems about right.
And then I head in, and if we have to face Arizona, what I've seen against the Saints the last 2 years trying to stop a mobile quarterback, I do not like going against Kyler Murray in the first round. A hungry Kyler Murray.
A healthy Kyler Murray, who all of a sudden started running again this weekend. It's good to see.
Yep. Saw him dominate New York, a team that looked like they were on the rise.
Who still is. I've been very impressed with Joe Judge.
I have too.
Okay, so before we wrap up, as is Wednesday night tradition, we need to take a look at the Thursday night game and pick a winner. So I know the Thursday night game sucks, but still got to do it. So tomorrow night will be the Los Angeles Chargers, not the Clippers, like my brain keeps trying to get out of my mouth, at the Las Vegas Raiders. So, Mr. Matt, as our new person, who you got and what's the score?
I'm going to go Los Angeles Chargers 35-10.
Ooh, upset.
I think this is a game that Justin Herbert comes and shows that even if Anthony Lynn's holding him back, he can come out and show that he can win games. And I think a banged-up Raiders secondary without Jonathan Abram is going to be an absolute feast for Justin Herbert. He's also a must-start, if anyone's asking that as well. He's a must-start against the banged-up Las Vegas team. I think it's going to be an absolute rout for Los Angeles.
See, I always tend to lean that it's an absolute rout against the Raiders, and I see him each and every week to rate that team because I don't believe in the Raiders. I do not like Derek Carr, but I still am going to take the Chargers. I'll take Chargers 34-27, 31-27, Chargers. And no Ruggs, not that Ruggs have been a big part of the offense, but no Ruggs, no Jonathan Abram. It's Cleveland Farrell, I think, is also out on COVID. There's a lot of Raiders defensive guys out. And I'm only giving the Raiders 27 points purely in garbage time. The Chargers are going to take a lead, and they're going to come back for no point.
Andrew?
I also like the Chargers in this matchup, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than what Matt hinted at. Mostly because we've seen it honestly depends upon which Derek Carr shows up. Is it the Derek Carr that can't get a receiver open to save his life and they can't hold on the ball, that fumbles the ball a lot, or is it lights out Derek Carr, it's game time? So I'm going to say that it's a high score game as well. I like 38-35 Chargers.
I need to go bet the over is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Yes. The over currently set at. Why aren't you telling me? Come on now.
52 would be my guess.
53.5.
Yeah. Life's too short to bet the under, people. Come on.
And that's not a chance.
See, and when I started asking this, I was thinking that this was a Raiders sweep, but I guess I didn't realize how many guys were actually out this week for them.
I had to go out big with my friend. You knew that.
See, Andrew's trying to goad me into howling. You know what? I'll take that. I'll do that. Why not? I'll take the Raiders at home, but I will take them. Let's go like 24-21. Something like that. So we'll be
betting the under.
Yes. Doug is betting the under. But
Yes,
then also,
I was too.
Doug is the only one to have taken formerly Oakland, in this game. The Las Vegas Raiders. So tradition is, Matt, that if you're the one person who takes the other team, you do a lone wolf howl.
just like they do on NFL Network on Sunday mornings. So,
Oh,
There we go. Doug,
which is also the only reason why I come on the show on Wednesday nights is just to howl.
It is worth noting that Eckler picked up a quad injury, and he might.
I did see that.
You're still lining him up there. I can't help but overthink it, but I'm still you're still playing him against.
If he
Raiders.
plays, you start him.
Yeah, if he's active, you're throwing him out there, and thank goodness it's a Thursday game, so you don't have to really.
If he's not, though, is Justin Jackson a DraftKings candidate? Will they always say that before?
I think I lean. Is Justin Jackson fully healthy? I go Justin Jackson. He'll be used over Kalen Ballage and the rest, and it's a good enough matchup. I'll pay the minimum for him. Why not?
All righty, cool. Well, that was a fast hour. I can't believe how quickly that went. So great job, everybody. That was a good time. We will be back with our regular show on Sunday at 10:30 with DJ and Chris and Michael. Until then, we want to thank our sponsor, The Big Cheese, for sponsoring our Wednesday night show. And we will see y'all Sunday morning. Good luck.
Out of here. See ya. Have a nice night.